Hey everyone, it's Saoirsesshelf, and congratulations for making it through all of the Perks of Being a Wallflower videos. I have put this off for so long because I knew it was going to be a big undertaking. I knew I would not get everything done in one video. I'm kind of wondering how I ever cover a whole book in one 25-minute video. But now I just want to do some discussion questions which are included in the back of the 20th anniversary edition, and I'll give you another closer look at all of my editions, and first I'll show you, these are all my Chbosky books. He's only written The Perks of Being a Wallflower and Imaginary Friend, but look how many I have. So, in case you didn't see in the other one, this is my original one. I want to say it's first edition from 1999, and maybe I'll go in the order in which I got them. This is another of the same edition, cannot tell you where it came from. And then maybe this one was next, I'm not sure. One of those Barnes & Noble pre-signed copies that I had to have, and it's a hardcover. And then the French that I got in France while I was studying abroad there back in 2013. So exciting though. Look at all that French. I keep telling myself, like, to brush up on my French, I should read this because it would probably be one of the easiest books for me to read in French since I know the English so well. And then this one from Mexico City, Dying to Learn Spanish. I'm so fascinated by translated works, you know this. And then I got these at the same time, Imaginary Friend and the 20th anniversary one. So I'll tell you this little story. But first, here's the other. This is the American edition of Imaginary Friend, because I was in London when I got the other one, and I had my mom pick up one of these because I was like, I'm not going to miss out on having a first edition. You know, when it comes out, I want the first edition of this book in both styles. So, let me tell you real quick, I did talk about this in my Imaginary Friend video, which I should link for you, but I met Chbosky fall of 2019 when I was living in Scotland. I saw that he was going to be in London, and I absolutely lost my mind. I don't even think I had to, did I even miss class for this? I think it worked out where I didn't even have to. I just went straight from school and hopped on a train, went down there. I think it's like a 5-hour train, and I got to meet him. He was in this like little church, and there weren't that many people. I'd say maybe 100, less than 200 people there for sure. And he was so humble, and he read that final letter that he wrote for the new edition, the one that says it's, 2012, and it's 20 years after the events of the first, of the Perks of Being a Wallflower, the original edition. He read that out loud, and like, I'm not kidding you, everybody in this church was crying. I was sitting right in the front row too, like I was there when they opened the doors, and it was so, it felt like a religious experience, not just because I was in a church, but like this I really refer to as my Bible. Like I'm not a religious person, this is my Bible. It's so important to me, and I thought this is really weird because I was going to show you this picture. Can you see that? Oh god, my ring light, there we go. That's me meeting Chbosky, and I'm wearing the same shirt. I'm wearing the same shirt. I did not plan that at all. There we are. This ring light, isn't that cool? I was freaking out, and he was so kind, and he asked for, I told him I was a writer. Like, the reason I was in the UK was I was getting my master's in creative writing, and he asked me to stay after. He was asking everybody who was like a writer to stay after and have a little chat with him about writing and his like formula for like how to be a good writer and get your work out there. And so afterwards everybody had left, and there were maybe 5 of us, and we all sat there like in this church pew with him standing there and telling us, all right, here it is, let me lay it out for you. And he just laid it out for us, like his process and how he thinks we can be successful. And I just absorbed it all right there, and then like quickly typed it into my phone after. And it was truly one of the best experiences of my life, like getting to meet the person who wrote my favorite book and find out that he's not some jaded, nasty person. He's so humble and so down to earth, and felt like you could see, like, he felt so much emotion when people were telling him how this book had saved their lives. And, you know, he was there to promote his new book, and he did not mind at all talking about Perks of Being a Wallflower. Like, he read us a bunch from Imaginary Friend, and it was really cool because I hadn't read it yet. And after that, like, he was fine spending a lot of the question and answer part talking about Perks. And we got to hear a lot of cool things about him writing it and making the movie and all of that. It was transcendent. Yeah. So wonderful. So let me show you. He signed all my books, and I didn't even tell him to sign all of them. I just brought them up there, having just bought 2 of them at the event. I just really wanted him to sign my original, and he went and signed every one of them. So he said, "Saoirse, here's to your writing." And that means so much to me. And then he signed Imaginary Friend, and he said, "You won't understand this right now, but you'll understand it when you read the book." Saoirse, hi, 217. So you've got to read this book, and if you have, oh my gosh, can you tell me, like, how surprised you were at how different it is? Like, that he could write an entirely different genre. You would never think that these are the same person. Like, look how big that book is, like, right off the bat. But when you really dig into it, it has the same heart to it, you know what I mean? It's like the same soul. So then in my original copy, he wrote, "Saoirse, you are infinite." And this is so, so dear to me. I shouldn't even touch it with, like, my greasy hands. I should have it in glass or something. But I keep all of these on my shelf. You can't see, there's a big gaping hole on the shelf up there where all of these books were. So, first, I want to talk about the music and the books that are mentioned in this book. So, One Winter is the mixtape that Charlie makes for Patrick. And these are the songs that are listed on the mixtape. I just want to read them to you. Asleep by the Smiths, Vapor Trail by Ride, Scarborough Fair by Simon and Garfunkel, A Whiter Shade of Pale by Procol Harum, Time of No Reply by Nick Drake, Dear Prudence by the Beatles, Gypsy by Suzanne Vega, Nights in White Satin by the Moody Blues, Daydream by Smashing Pumpkins, Dusk by Genesis, MLK by U2, Blackbird by the Beatles, Landslide by Fleetwood Mac, and again, Asleep by the Smiths. And remember in the movie, that song Heroes by David Bowie plays during the tunnel scene, and that's like the song. And I think it's really interesting because Stephen Chbosky, who wrote the book, also wrote and directed the movie. So I'm sure, like, that was his choice to have that be the tunnel song. It was very cool because in the book he doesn't tell us what the tunnel song is. So I just love that he got to take all this artistic license and really make that movie what he wanted it to be. So then also, oh, and I'm gonna totally make this mixtape. Well, I'm gonna make, like, a playlist on my phone and listen to this over and over. I don't know why I haven't done that yet. It's really weird. And then all the books that are mentioned, the books that Bill gives to Charlie, I wanted to read. Oh no, I totally was gonna get all of these books down. Well, I'll tell you which ones I have. So, On the Road, Naked Lunch, The Stranger, This Side of Paradise, Peter Pan, A Separate Piece, To Kill a Mockingbird, The Catcher in the Rye, The Great Gatsby, Hamlet, Walden, and The Fountainhead. So, it's been a goal of mine for a while to read all of these books. And I've only read The Stranger, This Side of Paradise, To Kill a Mockingbird, The Catcher in the Rye, The Great Gatsby, Hamlet, Walden, yeah, those 7. But I own The Fountainhead and Naked Lunch. Haven't read them yet. Yeah, so there's a few I still have to read. And I think it's so cool to have this, like, Perks of Being a Wallflower book list to go through, because especially when I read Catcher in the Rye, if you have not read that Perks of Being a Wallflower is like the modern day Catcher in the Rye. There's so many parallels between them. It's just brilliant. And yeah, in all of these books you can definitely feel like the vibe and the reason why the author included those books in here. So let's look at the discussion questions. We've got a little bit of time. I probably won't like get into depth in all of them, but if you get this edition, then these are in the back. Questions and topics for discussion. Number 1, discuss the epistolary format of the book. Why do you think Chbosky chose to use letters as his narrative structure? How did this structure affect the book, both in terms of the story and in terms of your reading experience? How would the book have been different if Chbosky had written it in first-person or third-person narrative? So I think that the letter aspect of it is very important. As I said before, I don't know who he's writing to. Like, we don't know. But it never seems to matter. And I think this is such an interesting way to write a book, because it's hard to explain. But like, as a writer, this is very important to me, because it's so difficult to choose what tense to write a book in. And when you're writing in letters, you're writing in present tense because you are currently sitting down writing that letter, but you're describing events in past tense. So it's very different from just a straightforward first-person past tense narrative where everything happened in the past and we don't always know exactly from what point in the future or the present you are writing. This is something my teachers would argue, but I don't think it matters that much, but they always wanted us to like say exactly like you should know where you're writing from now. In past tense, we don't always get that, but with this strange epistolary present tense, past tense hybrid, you can do so much with it, because you can be like, I'm writing this letter right now. Tonight I'm gonna go do this, whatever, and right now I can hear the birds outside, but earlier today I went to lunch, whatever. You can exist in all times because you're writing a letter. And I think that's wild. Number 2, who do you think Charlie was writing to? Does it ultimately matter who, or even if he is writing to someone, why or why not? Well, we just talked about this. I think it's somebody, like, I don't know how to describe it, but like, when you're experiencing grief and you can, like, here's an outlet for you, write a letter to this person or reach out to this service or whatever. I think maybe, because he says he overheard about this person from somebody in his class, and maybe it's something like that, but no, I don't think it does matter at all. He could be writing to anyone. But for all these questions, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. Number 3, who do you identify with the most? Did you see parts of yourself in any one specific character? Charlie. Charlie, he just speaks straight to my soul. Like, I've already said all of this a million times, but his issues with dissociation and repressing his anxiety and depression, constantly overthinking and thinking in the future about the way he'll feel about himself in the past, and never really being in the moment, always watching other people. It's all me. It's all me, and that's why I get so emotional reading this book and talking about it. And this is what I tell people, like, even new people. I'll be like, if you want to know me at all, I really, like, sometimes get so tired of describing myself, having the same, like, get to know you conversations. I just go, here, just read this book. This is precisely me. And this is how you can understand the way that I think. I'd be interested to know if people relate to any of the secondary characters. Number 4, discuss Charlie's character. Is he sympathetic? Would you be friends with Charlie? Why or why not? Absolutely, I would be friends with him. I think he's super cool. Ooh, I just said that he reminds me of me. Does that make me, like, narcissistic? Whatever. I think he's definitely sympathetic. I mean, he tells us right off the bat what has just happened to him that's tragic in his life. And then we just get to go on this ride with him where he's learning about himself and how to grow up, but also how to enjoy the moment. 5. What do you think kept Charlie from participating when he entered high school? What held him back? Have you ever felt this way before? Well, it's hard to say because we don't know Charlie from when he's, from birth. We know that he's just experienced a great loss, the loss of his best friend. And sure, you could say that that holds him back. I know when I went to high school, I planned to go to this high school because my best friend was going there, and then unfortunately she moved away to another state. And so I entered high school like completely not there. You know, I'd go to class and they would read the roll on the first day, and her name would still be on the roll even though she was in another state, and it was just heartbreaking. So I didn't really allow myself to participate for a long time, maybe ever. I mean, high school is just not a cute time for me. I was not enjoying it. Yeah, so yeah, I've felt this way before. Number 6, who is Charlie's greatest ally? Who is his worst influence? Greatest ally. I think Bill. Bill might be his greatest ally, though his friends are obviously allies. His teacher is so important and so integral to his growth and understanding of himself. His worst influence. I don't know. I don't want to name any particular names, but I'd like to know what you think. Number 7, from Naked Lunch by William S. Burroughs to Harold and Maude to the Beatles song Dear Prudence, Charlie references numerous pieces of literature, film, and music. How did these references shape your reading? Why are they so important to Charlie? Well, I think it's fascinating, and I love that Stephen Chbosky was like, I don't care what people say about how you shouldn't date your writing or place something in a specific time because then in the future it like won't be as relevant, whatever. He's like, it's 1991, y'all. It's 1991. I'm saying it in every letter. You know exactly when and where this is. You know it's in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. And I love that he gives us a time and a place. And yeah, please settle me in that locale. I love it. I absolutely love when people use specific markers of where and when we are. You know, I don't need all this vague, which is a very common thing in, what am I trying to say? Literary fiction. Literary fiction. Which I love normally, but like, it's so common to be like, this is all places and all times. It's nothing specific because they want you to relate to it no matter when and where you are and whatever. Yeah, so why are they so important to Charlie? Well, this is why when I look at a list of things from the 90s, like, remember these things from the 90s? I go, that's my childhood, and I get all excited. Why are these things important? They're shaping our whole experience. 8. When Bill invites Charlie over for lunch, Charlie observes he was talking for real. It was strange. What do you think Charlie means by real? How does he discern between what is real and what is not real? Because we have really surface conversations, and then we have real, important conversations. And this is one of those moments when he knew this was a real one. Okay, I can't say as much anymore because I'm running low on time and voice. Number 9, Sam confronts Charlie before she leaves for college, pleading, you can't just sit there and put everybody's lives ahead of yours and think that counts as love. You just can't. You have to do things. Do you agree with Sam? How does this exchange relate to their relationship on a grander scale? I agree in a sense that you cannot just give and give and give and like sacrifice your entire self for somebody, because then guess what? Who are you? If somebody loves you, they want to love you for who you are, but if you're not showing who you are and you're just giving and giving and you're just so self-sacrificing that you forget to have a personality, that doesn't work. Yeah. Number 10, discuss Aunt Helen's character and presence in the novel. Were you surprised when the truth about her relationship with Charlie was revealed? In what other ways did seemingly positive aspects of Charlie's life turn out to be negative? Well, I cannot remember the first time I read this book, to be honest. I'm sure I was around 15 or something. So I don't remember ever not knowing about Aunt Helen and the reveal there. I can't say if I was surprised. I think if I was reading it for the first time, I would be. Just because he speaks of her so lovingly and obviously doesn't remember what happened to him. Seemingly positive aspects turned out to be negative. That's a good question. I don't know. I have to think about it. 11. After watching an art film with Mary Elizabeth, Charlie says, "The movie itself was very interesting, but I didn't think it was very good because I didn't really feel different when it was over." Do you agree with Charlie that in order to be good, creative works must make you feel differently? How did you feel after reading The Perks of Being a Wallflower? Absolutely. I always say this about Disney movies. If it did not make me cry, it wasn't good. It wasn't even a Disney movie, you know? Because I should absolutely be weeping by the end. I should be weeping in the beginning. Right off the bat, I should be fully in tears. But that's my measure, because not everybody does cry heavily at everything when they feel. But if I feel even a slight emotion, I weep quite a bit. So that's how I know personally if something is emotionally effective. And of course, how did I feel after reading it? Like a blubbering mess. 12. Discuss the following passage. Maybe it's good to put things in perspective, but sometimes I think the only perspective is to really be there. How has Charlie's outlook shifted from the beginning of the story? It's definitely shifted a lot, because all of a sudden he's present. Well, not all of a sudden, but throughout the book he's learning how to be present. And finally at the end, he's really there, and he's really in the tunnel, and it's really the wind in his hair, and he's not just a wallflower anymore. 13. The Perks of Being a Wallflower grapples with a complex, universally difficult stage of life. What reflections did it inspire about your own life? What parts of the story resonated most deeply with you? Well, thinking about high school and how I had such a bad time there, and my strange group of friends who I don't even know if they were really friends, but people I just hung out with, and, you know, I went to Rocky Horror, and I was struggling with my feelings and dealing with my, like, what happened in my childhood, and dealing with growing up, and not feeling all there, and always having to look at other people rather than myself, like always being the fly on the wall. And yeah, being a wallflower was a big part of has been a big part of my life. I think I was weirdly outgoing for like a minute in high school, but then it was like I was trying to overcompensate for having been really, really painfully shy as a kid. And then I just got more and more bullied, and it was like I just gave up, you know? I just gave up. So yeah, a lot of it resonated with me. 14. In the 20th anniversary edition of The Perks of Being a Wallflower, Charlie writes a new letter from the perspective of being 20 years older. Does this perspective change your feelings about him as a young man? Does it enhance your experience of reading the original novel, or would you have preferred to stay in the past? That's a good question. I feel like the book as it was totally complete. It didn't need anything else, but the way that Stephen Chbosky wrote that final letter, like clearly as himself, but speaking through Charlie, saying like he's received so many positive messages from people about what the book has done for him, about what the letters have done for people. It was very cool to read that, and especially to get to see him read it in person. So yeah, I love that he did that. It's definitely not like the ending of Harry Potter with the like 19 years later thing, which did not need to happen. But still, in a way, I kind of enjoyed, because I don't know. I want to tell us like what happened to everybody, like where's Sam and Patrick and what's happening, but we don't need to know. And the fact is that this is a perfect work of art in and of itself. And we were lucky to get that final letter that is so emotionally impactful and reminds us that we are not alone, and everybody reading this book and experiencing the emotions that it brings up, we are all in this together, and we've all got each other. So please leave me lots of comments. Let me know your feelings on this book and how it affected you, how it impacted you. What are your answers to these discussion questions? Wow, that was so much talking. Oh my gosh. That was like almost 2 hours of just Perks of Being a Wallflower content. I'm like shocked that I got through all of Villette in only 3 videos. How did I do that? I've got to learn how to make my videos longer, because my camera shuts off after 25 minutes. In case you didn't know, that's why they're always 25 minutes, because I don't want to risk that happening. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me and talking about my favorite book. I will see you all next time. Happy reading.